Hey guys, here's the first shave after austere August, and so I've got a little bit of different gear, and I'm happy about that. I do enjoy using like Midnight Stag or a single soap for a period of time for various reasons, but for other reasons, I also enjoy changing it up. And matter of fact, that is my usual habit. And so while the blade is the same with the Nacet having 332 will be the count for today's shave. 300, I meant 500 because there's 300 and then plus the dots you see here. On the original envelope for the blade is where the 300 came from, and then the dots are in addition to the dots that are on the envelope for the blade. So 532 is going to be the count for today, if I'm correct, and I believe I'm within one. The soap is going to be Misfit from Jeep Guy, and he is a friend on both YouTube and on the wet shaving subreddit, and we have a good time talking, and it's nice. He was so kind to send me. I bought some. I'm pretty sure it was Damocles from Mammoth. I believe he put some of that up for sale, and I love that scent. And so I think that's what I bought from him, and he threw in that as a kindness, and it's really generous because that's a custom scent made for him by Ben at Mammoth. Now, because I'm using the Nacet, I'm using the Timeless Open Comb 68 Gap. The brush, we're going Badger. Been using Boar all month of August, and this feels so light in comparison because that Boar brush holds so much water. Badger hairs don't absorb water like the Boar brushes do. Now, the tips of these kind of higher end brushes, they do absorb some water, and that's why they change and get softer over time. If they've been gelled, and treated, then they'll absorb some water, but the shafts really don't absorb very much water. And so even though I've had this guy soaking for, 10 or 15 minutes, he's so light. Once I shake the water out, he's still quite light. And that's I just haven't experienced that for a whole month, right? So and the last thing is the post shave for today is 4 Horsemen Famine. I looked up, since today is kind of all about Jeep, I looked up and found that he tried, it seems, to use the 4 Horsemen War. And this is from Barrister and Mann. And he tried to use it for the month of August. And I think he got 4 or 5 shaves in, and then he posted late, and then he didn't post anymore. And so maybe he thought that disqualified him, or maybe it turned out war was just too much for him. I think he may have also been doing the WEC Sextablade Challenge as well. Maybe he thought that was too much. Maybe his schedule got weird. Who knows? But he did not finish the month, it seems. We're going to keep on going with the Nacet, showing you the markings here. I will branch out and start trying other razors with the Nacet, because sometimes you find other ones that work well with it at certain ages. The last time I went through some different razors, I was really at a loss for finding a compatible one, and the Timeless really was by far the best. And I've got a big selection to choose from. So I have already wet my face a minute ago, and I have already spread, and this is how you can do little smushes. See, he sent me the smush, we call it a smush, because he took a piece of paper here and put a smush of it, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon, something like that, probably maybe a little bit more. He put that in there, folded it up, and then he tucked it in this plastic bag. And that was really smart of him, because, of course, the scent can come out of the paper because that paper is porous. And so through the mail, if it gets really hot, especially, that scent can kind of start to evaporate. by the time it gets to the person, it's not going to be quite as strong. And but since he put it in a little baggie like this, then it kept it preserved until now when I've been able to use it. It killed me. I sat there, looked at it most of August, and I'm really glad to use it finally. And so what you can do is I unfolded the paper, kind of scooped it all out, and pressed it into the bottom of my lather bowl. Now, the deal with the slurry lather method that I have used most of the month of August is that it's a nice method for performance and speed, but it doesn't give you as much soak, relaxed time to enjoy the scent. And that's okay, because it's just not meant to do that, because a lot of times we need speed. If you're like me, it turns out lately, a lot of times I need speed in short time to get the shave in, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do it. Well, I've got enough time today to really soak in and enjoy this scent. It's an honor to have him send it to me. There was obviously Ben made the trifecta, a batch for him, I think soap and splash and cologne or something like that. And then Jeep said it was okay for him to do it again, to do 2 batches of it, and they're raffling that off to benefit Restore New York City, I think. It's a human trafficking charity. How awesome is that? And so this is rarefied air. There's not much of this floating around at all. And I'm hoping that, I know the Jeep enjoyed the privilege of that win, because I think it was the 2022 Lather Games. I don't think it was the 23 Lather Games. I think it was the 22, and it was his prize. He did really well in the Lather Games, and he got the custom stuff from Ben. And what Ben did was he took what he knew about Jeep and he congealed it all into a fragrance and a soap and that kind of stuff. And so here we are. I'm gonna soak in it, and I've got the description here. I'll look at that as while we're working everything. All right, so I am going to work this up in normal bowl lather fashion, as my particular style of bowl lathering works out. And so to do that, this guy just got pulled out of the water. I'm going to shake a lot of the water out, and then we will start working here. It is crazy how light this brush is compared to that big 31 millimeter bore brush. It just holds so much water that it's quite heavy. And now the Mammoth Tusk base, which I'm certain that's what this was done in, is such a terrific base that I know that performance is just going to be delicious. Nice, fresh, almost greenness is coming out at first. Not a sinewy, lemongrassy kind of greenness, but just nice. So let's look at the description of the scent, because, you know, when Ben presented it to him, he described it, his intentions for it, you know, that kind of thing. Only 2 sets were made, soap, splash, and EDT, like I was saying. So let's just confirm that. And Ben said, young adulthood, the confidence and the confusion, the enthusiasm and the ennui. Misfit is a study in disparate elements coming together in harmony, a snapshot in time. Its exuberant opening features a bright, waxy citrus peel. Now, is that what I'm getting? It's definitely a nice bright. Yeah, I could see it as citrus. Now, there's some other things to it. Not citrus as an orangey, but citrus like a lime. Is kind of how I'm interpreting that. With a bit of natural creamy musk. That's maybe what made me think it was kind of grassy with the lime and the musk kind of combining a little bit, the brightness there. And next, a beautiful heart of meaning after the initial part, initial scent kind of floats away. The heart is what's next, is what you smell. Heart of moss, sparkling amber, herbs, and light florals. I think I'm already picking up on some of those light florals. Juxtaposed with splashes of industrial goods and beer. We'll have to see if I smell some industrial goods and beer. Nature and digital environments fight and interweave strangely. Finally, the fragrance sighs into a relieved and expansive sandalwood and a tobacco with spices and vanilla, adorned with the tiniest hint of goat. What a description, right? And also just continually, what a privilege to be able to enjoy this. Now, of course, the splash and the cologne, the fragrance that he created is going to best encapsulate the scent that we're going for here. But the soap is going to have some of those notes, and I'm sure it's going to be great because it already smells nice. Got my 40 milliliters of water. We're back to using that, right? Because I've been using that for years. Put a little bit of water in. Then we'll just subtract from the 40. See how much we use, just for grins. Mainly to help you guys if you're trying to reproduce a lather. Tusk is a great base that has a wonderful attribute of you being able to push a good bit of water into it and have it be pretty flexible. While it is nice and slick when you back off on the water a little bit, it is even better. It's still shaveable, but it's even better when, and it can hold it so well when you do push even more water into it. It stays with that lightly creamy kind of texture here. And I probably didn't need to use the whole sample that he sent me. I might have been able to squeeze it into 2 shaves, but I just, since the scent here was what was most important, I just decided to use it all to have the fullest strength of the scent, to just really enjoy that. Yeah, that's just really pleasant. Very light florals. They're not offending my anti-floral nose at all. And the lime is there. But it is, he said, a waxy citrus. And it's true. It's not a super bright citrus. It is a little bit muted. It's just a beautiful lather. This Tusk base not only works well, but it looks well while it looks great while you're mixing it up with the sheen that it kind of has on it and all that. I had I went out and smoked a pipe a little bit, and so I kind of had that in my nose, and so I didn't want that to interfere with the enjoyment of this lather here. So you know what I did, and here's a little tip for you, especially if you go somewhere and you know you're going to smell a bunch of things. Take yourself some coffee beans. It's a perfumer's trick, scent evaluations, that kind of thing. If you know you're going to smell a bunch of things, your nose can actually become overwhelmed with all the different scents. If you keep stacking, if you've got about 12 scents you're going to smell, then the first 2 you're going to be able to get pretty well, the first few. But then your nose is going to, it's going to be hard to tell the difference and the individual notes and stuff the farther you get down the line. So something like coffee is a good reset for your palate, right? So now, yeah, see, it's brighter. And I did take a whiff of those coffee beans before I started the shave. So I just wanted to keep that going to keep my nose kind of neutral to enjoy this scent. With more water, the base just keeps getting creamier. not used to such easy splay here and such wide coverage in the bowl. Since we're doing Badger, I thought about doing a slurry lather shave. Took me a second to remember that. But, of course, like I mentioned, I did not want it to go by so quickly. But I also, and I am going to do a slurry lather shave, maybe with this very brush, just to try it out. But I just didn't want the slurry lather to prevent me from really just soaking in the scent here. That's really neat. That's a good scent. And you can tell that there are bits and pieces in there, hints of some of those things that I read to you. And they're all working together to just make it a really pleasant, really enjoyable scent there. So now let me splash some water on my face. I think that's good enough in terms of mixing up the lather. Probably going to get some tugging because I have a little bit too much time left over. Oh, we almost added 30 milliliters of water to this lather. Well, like I said, I probably had more soap than I really needed, but I just wanted the turbo blast of this fragrance. Easy splay. It's like shaving with a cloud compared to the backbone that's on that boar brush I was using all month. It's a big boar brush. It's also, not all, in case you're new to this, not all boar brushes have so much backbone. That particular one, and there are others. Usually they have little titles like chubby, scrubby kind of things to clue you in on the fact that the loft is set kind of short in relation to its diameter, and the diameter of the base of the knot there. That's just wonderful. Not super strong. Samples are sometimes that way. I wish I could have shaved with it right away, but I mean, I think I am getting the best apprehension of it because he did package it in that plastic baggie. All right. Oh, the lather just feels so good on my face. The softness of the brush tips. Oh, very, very nice. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. I'm just kind of going to do one pass without too much buffing, without shaving a few times in each area, a few strokes and then moving on to the next area. So I'm just kind of going to cover everything in one quick pass. And sometimes if you've got a few days of growth on you, sometimes that's a good alternative. If you think your blade might tug on you a little bit with water. We can feel the performance there is great. I think I nailed the lather perfectly there because it was really, really wet, but still had that light creaminess that gives me a sense of luxury. That's kind of what I go for. In a way, I feel bad because I have so much lather. But another reason I wanted to use a bunch of the soap is because I'm going to go deep here into the passes, because something else I want to evaluate is this, the blade. I don't have to go here on this particular pass. I'm just enjoying the brush right now. I don't need to be working it this much. But oh, the creaminess of the lather here is just terrific. The scent, is it maturing? Is it changing? Oh, and I see some of those musky notes are starting to come out more now. And some of those, you had kind of, Ben talked about how this was a dichotomy type of scent. You had happy things, but then you also had kind of rough things like the musk and the industrial notes versus the florals and the citrus and the brightness, that kind of thing, because he was trying to capture that dichotomy of the vibrance of youth and the and some of the things he saw in Jeep, right? So I'm starting to, as some of those happier things, a few of those happier things are burning off and lifting away, and those heart notes are starting to come out a little bit more. So I mentioned I wanted to go a little deeper with the blade because in austere August, I was usually doing 3 passes, but I was going more for speed and less for the quality of the shave. And today, right now, I am trying to lay around in this scent and really enjoy it. But I'm also wanting to give plenty of time to gauge the blade's performance. Because one of my criteria with this Nacet is that I'm not going to keep shaving if it gets really inefficient to use. If it takes 8 passes to do its job, that's too many passes for your normal guy. And so I think at that point, it's time to flip it over and see how many passes the other side is going to give me. All right, so that's 2. That's why Tusk is one of my favorite bases. The kind of slickness it gives you is not a highly oily kind that a few of the bases seem to favor. I think the ones that are choosing to really focus on skincare and leaving your face kind of moisturized, feeling extra moisturized, sometimes they end up with me walking away with almost an oily kind of feel, and I don't enjoy that as much. Fine Accoutrements has their classic puck, which is more of the other end of the spectrum with a pure slickness focus, and then I depend on a balm or something like that afterwards to provide that moisturization, right? But this Tusk seems to, and there are some other makers as well that are very similar, like Spearhead comes to mind, Summer Break, I think, that really, it's the best of both worlds. It's nourishing to your face somewhat, but it doesn't sacrifice that performance and the slickness. And so you get a really nice and easy to achieve, for me, light creaminess while also having that razor movement, slick razor movement and protection that you want. And so that's why I'm just a big fan of the Tusk. Now, we are going to see. With this 3rd pass now, this is the 2nd time I'm doing a cross grain. I'm going to start doing some angles here. Puffing up my cheeks as well to provide some backbone. Because it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter if I can get 1,000 shaves out of it. If it's not giving adequate shaves that a person would be able to practically have, then to me it's not as valuable as a piece of data or as valuable as a record, you know? Well, yeah, he got 1,000 shaves out of it, but it just wasn't cutting very close, and so it kind of doesn't matter. So I'm doing slanted angles and stuff with my razor head. I'm going to do the same in the next pass, and the good news is that these passes are really kind of quick, and so that's why I don't really mind doing 5 passes, maybe even 6 passes if they're that fast, right? After all, so that's 3 now, when you've got a lather like this that you're just really enjoying, when you've got a brush, this is a Declaration Grooming, I think it's a B13, with a Dogwood hybrid handle. It'll be in the description just for sure which one it is. I've been in another shaving world for too long, and this one doesn't have a label or anything, so I think I'm correct. So this is the fourth pass. Continuing with just quick movements with a slight against the grain note to them. And that'll help this high use blade usually to give me a nice close cut. The neck, of course, is always the problem area, right? Even with normal blades. It's the one that is the most challenging for just about every shaver, including me. Right there, that stroke was almost all against the grain. You can see I've got nice residual slickness here. I'm going back over areas that are non-lather containing, and the slickness here is just still there for me to be safe. All right. So that's the fourth. So I'm going to do one final cleanup pass, and we'll take a look at the results. I'm not looking for BBS. And to be honest, I'm probably not even looking for a DFS, which is darn fine shave. But I'm just looking for a very close shave to where if I were to go into your average job, then my boss would be able to see me at a normal distance, maybe standing next to me, and not think that I had a bad shave or that I needed to go and fix my shave. That's kind of my standard, because I think that's the standard that your average Joe deals with. Obviously, some kind of face model or a high-end lawyer or something like that. Oh, this brush is so nice. I am definitely looking forward to trying the slurry lather method with a big high-density brush like this. And I still have another 3 passes of lather or so, and so definitely enjoying this. So while this is on my face still, as the last pass, let's take a look over those scent notes again. Just to not read the description again necessarily, you can always rewind and go back to the beginning if you want to hear that again, or look in the description of the video. The top level, bergamot peel, so like that waxy citrus, and some musk. Middle, floral, amber, moss, herbs, beer, and vinyl. Oh, vinyl, interesting. Don't think I picked up beer. Amber's usually one I can pick up on. I don't think, and maybe a hint of it there. The base, sandalwood, cardamom, saffron, pink pepper, tobacco, vanilla, musk, and goat. Yeah, I definitely pick up some light spices like that. Some light woodiness. The pepper's definitely not super dominant. I'm glad about that. Tobacco. My nose might actually be blind to tobacco since I was just smelling because I was smoking a pipe. Oh, and the faintest hint of vanilla. So yeah, man, some of the notes can be lightly perceived. And so obviously it would have turned out a lot more accurate with the liquid versions of the scent. But yeah, very enjoyable. There's lots to it to look for. If you didn't know the scent descriptions and you were just to use it, I think you'd walk away thinking that's very pleasant. Because I think the two sides that we talked about, the kind of the happy, pleasant, enthusiastic side versus the more harsh things, I think they play together really well. But when you learn more about the different notes and you're able to look for them and perceive them, I think it becomes very interesting because you can more accurately see what's playing. You know, it's like watching a sports game where if you don't know how basketball works or how soccer works, then it kind of is enjoyable, but maybe it's kind of bland and boring. But then when you learn the certain players do certain things, you learn what they're trying to do, and then you can watch them try to do it, watch the other team try to stop them, that sort of thing. Then it becomes more interesting. And so this definitely has that aspect to it. When you have the notes, you're able to smell hints of them and watch them come and go during the scent. It's really neat. Thank you, Jeep, so much for sending me this special sample. So now, the fifth pass. Razor moving very easily, of course, with most of the stubble gone. No irritation. Actually, it wasn't. I expected the first pass to be a little bit more tuggy, but it wasn't. I was kind of surprised. I could go from my chin back up toward my ear as a reverse cross grain. I definitely advise you guys to try that kind of as your third pass if you feel like doing that sometime. And it might do you just as well as an against the grain pass in terms of the shave result. But then what it could also give you is more comfort at the end of the shave. And so same result, but more comfort. That's kind of a plus, isn't it? All right, it's very easy to move around here. I don't have, the hairs are just so properly gone that this little area right here is one where this Nacet's old enough to where it doesn't get that area unless I do this chin toward the bottom of my ear kind of stroke, but then it takes care of it just fine. And that is it, my friends. So I'm going to give myself a good rinse, take a look at my face, and see if the Nacet can keep on going. Now right here in my trouble spot where I put on a little bit more lather, there were some hairs that need some attack. Now, this other side's pretty good, so that's a good thing. So now just very gently, I can give myself a razor burn if I do this wrongly, too much pressure, that kind of thing. Oh, nice, nice. Man, in many ways, I wish I could go against the grain on a regular basis. I think it would be a lot easier to get those stray guys. I wouldn't have to go this many passes deep, But that's just the way my skin works. And I've kind of got to wrap it up. So let's put on the Famine. Time draweth nigh. Oh man, that's nice. Now I like war, and I actually have a couple of tubs of that. A lot of people did not like it though. And so if stag weren't my favorite thing in August, I might actually do war. Oh, that's just really enjoyable. I'm glad I bought that one. Or ended up with it. I may not have, it may have gone on sale, and so that's why I picked it up, or I may have lucked out and had it been part of something. But, oh yeah, oh, that's good. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Jeep, thank you so much for the gift of that Misfit smush. The sharing your soap supply, very limited supply with me. I really appreciate it. Thoroughly enjoyed the shave. Take care, guys. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.